All right, we are live.
Okay, hey.
I'm Zane Daniel, and I'm joined by VP. We are talking about the Expo, which is going to be coming up September 12th and 13th. So excited about that. And as you probably already know, and as we've been talking about a lot, our theme for this particular Expo is envisioning our 5D society. And what's fun about that topic is that there's so many possibilities. We're going to have speakers and we're going to have healers that are going to help you prepare to get to the 5D yourself and to transition through the 4D, which, by the way, is actually the topic of my next YouTube video that's coming up this week. But anyway, yeah. But anyway, the other fun thing about doing the 5D Society as our topic is that we're going to be bringing in people like Bridget, who is an astrologer, and she's going to kind of help us see the landscape or the future or how it could potentially play out. So I'm especially excited about that. And then we're also going to have speakers who have been working boots on the ground on transforming our society. So doing things at a 3D level, at a 4D level that we're ready for in this society. And we spend so much of our time, or we could very easily spend so much of our time being worried about all the things that are going wrong with our society right now, the various people in charge, evil people, CEOs, evil, politicians, whatever their agendas are, and we can get all wrapped up in that sort of thing. And I think that that is very counter to achieving what the 5D society, the 4D society is. So in order to keep us from being so wrapped up in that, I wanted to have speakers and people who are actually actively doing things to better our society. And I want everybody to come away completely inspired by that. So super excited about it. And to get us started, I'd love for Bridget to go ahead and introduce herself and talk a little bit about what she's going to be talking about.
Okay, well, hey, my name is Bridget Pennisten, and I go by BP, which are my initials, like the gas station. So if you see both of those names come up, that is why I am both. Professionally, I'm an astrologer, channeler, and a counselor. My background pre-spiritual awakening is in psychology, and my formal education is in psychology and counseling. But in my work, I have an online business where I combine astrology with channeling and counseling to create a multi-level guidance experience. I'm really into making astrology easy to understand, but more importantly, using it in real life in a very practical kind of way. That's my passion with astrology.
And we were talking about that before we went on, that we're both earth signs. I'm a Virgo and you're a Capricorn, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And so there's where that comes from, right? We're both. Like I'm using that sort of thing all the time with my YouTube videos and whatever. And so, yeah, that's what I love about what you're doing too. Of course, it resonates with me very much.
Yeah, it's a helpful second lens, if you will, to come in from the left brain life and look at the same topic from a different lens. It's really helpful for me, at least.
Yeah, totally. Me too. So okay, and then the all about the 5D society and our 5D future. You're going to be talking about from the astrological perspective of kind of a timeline for that. Is that right for your talk?
Yeah, it's going to be something like a timeline, a few different timelines. We'll be talking about the next few years, the next decade, and then we'll take a broader look at the next 200-ish years.
Wow.
And we'll be taking a look into what might change in a 5D society. So we all know that the world is making this shift. Some are calling it a new age, and that's a term that comes up in astrology as well. So we'll be addressing that. I like to think that our collective experience and the trends that we're all going through together, they're mirrored by the stars. And that can be a really validating perspective and give us a lot of clues about what's coming next. I describe it as a lens to look at the future that is like a universal perspective, a broad overhead view, and it allows us to see really clearly what the possibilities are. So, in my talk, I'll be sharing a lot of potent astrology transits. And if you're not familiar with astrology, transits is just an astrology word for events and movements of the stars and planets. And these movements are going to bring in the massive shifts that we need as a society to make this transition. And they're going to support us as we evolve into this new world and our new roles within that world. I'll be using predictive astrology as well as some channeled guidance as I do in my work. I like to blend them both. And I'll be leading us through understanding why the certain planets and these certain movements make the impact that they do and why they bring that change to us. One of the ways I like to do that is by providing comparisons to past or historical astrological transits to help ground in that understanding of the future. So a trend could be what happened in a Saturn transit 20 years ago and applying that to the next one in our modern world. It's really helpful to bring it into a concrete fashion. So like I said, we'll be talking about the next few years. We'll be talking about the next decade and the next 140 years and then 200. The reason that I want to do the next decade specifically is because 2020 astrologically is one of the most pivotal years in terms of transits. And a lot of the things that we're seeing in the sky and in our world this year are the catalyst for the 5D jump that is mirrored in the stars. Some of the things that will come up would be our sense of community. We'll be talking about our government, our power, specifically the distribution of power, and our view on power itself. There'll be some technology predictions, some talk about our communication, our environmental efforts, and a lot on our collective values, which are going to be reflected very clearly by the outer planets. We'll be going through Saturn, some Jupiter, some Pluto, and basically the biggest thing that I do want to share, a mini sneak peek, if you will, is that the transition from the last 200 years on Earth, we call it the age of Earth in astro terms, but in textbook terms, that's the Industrial Revolution. And the next 200 years, starting in 2020, is going to be the age of air, which we call the communication revolution. And I think even in just those two distinctions between industrial revolution and communication revolution, there's already a major shift in the priorities of the society. And these transits, I'm just excited.
Yeah, well, and it's really interesting too, because if you think about the fact that the Industrial Revolution was the last 200 years, you think Industrial Revolution, right? You think of physical things, you think of things made out of metal and people working with their hands and creating physical things. And then you think about the communication starts off like we're doing right now with our mouths and with our voices. But in 200 years, it could completely end up in telepathy and not even speaking anymore, right? So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the internet has some heavy ties to astrological transits, so I think internet communication is going to be a fun topic to dive into when we look at a 5D society. Internet good, essentially.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And we can credit it a lot to probably the advancements over the last 10, 20 years from not only just a technological, but also like an awakening. so much,
Yes.
because we wouldn't, I know that one of the big awakening moments was really 9/11, at least for
Mhm.
people in the US especially.
Yes.
And if it weren't for the internet, I think we probably would have looked at 9/11 as just on the surface, just face value. But because of the internet and everybody's saying, well, wait a minute, no, this doesn't add up and that doesn't add up. And you go, oh, yeah, you know what? You're right. I was just trusting the news before I saw all this stuff on the internet. So it's
Mhm.
allowing us to wake up and see, I think, the realities of what's going on, or at least a different type of reality than the one that's just been force fed to us all this time.
Absolutely. I'm also excited to bring in some transits that are about the way that we share and process information. That's a major component of a communication revolution, is all about information and increasing the value of information and communication over more earthly, heavy things like literal metal from the Industrial Revolution, things of that sort. It's basically all of those thoughts align with the stars as well.
Yeah. That's excellent. Okay, well, I'm super excited about it, and I'm sure that our fans and our followers and the viewers are going to be excited about it too. And so, if you haven't already, then definitely register for the next expo at higherselfexpo.com. You'll get on the mailing list, and you'll find out who all the speakers are, what they're going to be talking about, and other announcements. We do have a keynote speaker announcement coming up, and the other 11 speakers haven't been announced yet. So that'll be coming over the next, what are we down to, 4 or 5 weeks now, something like that.
Yeah.
So it's not too far. It's going to come fast. So thank you so much, Bridget. Thanks for joining us today. We tested out our connection, and it worked.
It does work. Thank you for chatting.
It took a little something on your side, but we got it. So we look forward to seeing you, and we don't know what day yet. That'll be announced too. That's the other thing to sign up for. The schedule will be announced in email. So you'll either be on Saturday or Sunday.
Absolutely. I can't wait. And thanks for having me on to give a little intro chat as well.
Yes, absolutely. It was my pleasure. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.